What if the Native Americans had horses? An often unknown fact is that horses actually evolved in the Americas, as well as camels, and they actually only reached the Old World because they crossed a land bridge that once existed between Alaska and Siberia. In 10,000 BC, the Proto-Native Americans, or the Clovis people, wiped out horses and camels in the Americas by hunting them to extinction until they only survived in Eurasia. What would happen if horses and camels never went extinct in the Americas? How would the world be different? What would the borders be? That is the question of this alternate history. On that note, I shall commence. For this timeline to happen, the Native Americans would not have hunted horses and camels to extinction, and so they would have survived in the Americas to this day. Similarly to Eurasia, the Native Americans would likely have domesticated horses and thus have ridden them and used them for purposes such as pulling carts. The first major change in Native American technology would be that the Native Americans would have used the wheel. The Native Americans had the wheel. For example, the Maya put wheels on toys, but they never used it for carts because carts just plain out aren't efficient if you don't have something to pull the cart. The second major change is that there would be more exchange in technology, because a man and a horse can travel much longer and much faster than a man without a horse. Certain ideas from certain part of the Americas would travel to other parts of the Americas. For example, in Mesoamerica, they invented writing, but it didn't spread much further north than that. And in the Pacific Northwest, they had iron, but it never got out of the Pacific Northwest. This is because these regions were cut off from the regions around them, and so the technology never got out of those regions and spread to other regions of the Americas. And so, you'd likely find iron and writing across much of the Americas. Also, because people would be traveling and trading more, that would mean that people would see other people making brilliant ideas, and then that would make them think of brilliant ideas, things that they could make. And so ideas would be generated more often and faster. For example, the internet is a giant hub of ideas and concepts. And without the internet, you would have never watched this Whatifalthist video, and maybe someone who watched this video will be inspired to found their own alternate history channel, which will further spread the idea of alternate histories, and maybe that'll inspire someone else, and this cycle will continue. And so, with this exchange of ideas, technology would advance much faster in the Americas than it did in our timeline. Also, in the Americas, empires would grow larger, as with horses, supply routes can go further. For example, an army coming from central Mexico trying to go to the Yucatan can only march so far because its supply lines would run out. But with horses, supply lines can go much further, and with carts you can carry much more, so armies can go much further and empires are thus much larger. All of this added together would mean that the Native Americans would have a similar technological level as the Old World civilizations. Maybe this would have led to a Native American discovery of the Old World. We just don't know. This would mean the Native Americans would never be colonized by the Europeans because there wouldn't be a technological disparity between the Europeans and Native Americans. I've actually made a timeline about what if the Native Americans were never colonized by the Europeans, and it will be in the description, and you can click on the link and it will bring you there to see the timeline. There are a few differences between this timeline and that timeline that I'd like to talk about, though. The first of which is that the Native Americans would still get the smallpox epidemic, but because there would have been a less technological disparity between Native Americans and the Europeans, the Native Americans would still likely have survived. For example, when smallpox first hit Europe in the 6th century, you didn't see the Arabs conquering Europe. The large movement of Native Americans from the East conquering Native Americans to the West would never have happened because Native Americans of the East wouldn't get the technologically advanced weapons of the Europeans because the Native Americans and the Europeans would have at a similar technological level, and so the Native Americans of the East wouldn't have an advantage over the Native Americans of the West in this timeline. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please comment and subscribe. Whatifalthist, thank you for watching.